Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and we're going to pump out quite a few, hard truths about love. Because the man behind you loves you so much that even though he's never been elected to office, even though he's not an epidemiologist, and he's certainly not a doctor or a scientist, he loves you so much that he's now telling you that you're going to be closing your bars and restaurants for 6 months. Oh, by the way, the lockdowns will be rolling into 2022. Forget about 2021. And he does so with a smile because he loves you. In fact, this man's got so much love to give that he's willing to gut the entire middle class to, let you feel that love. And anybody who doesn't think this is a reality needs to really understand that he knows that his authoritarian love is better for you than being able to, live your own life, not live under medical martial law. And by the way, he also lets you know that certain jobs, the government might have to get involved with that vaccine. We're going to talk about all this. We're going to play the entire Tapper clip with a lot of love, and then we're going to play some other stuff here. Now, before we do that, I want to remind everybody, fully demonetized on this platform, 8+ months, because of all the love that YouTube has for me, and Google has for me, and Alphabet has for me, and Eric Schmidt and others who make billions of dollars have for me, because they love me, and they love you. Remember, billionaires love the common person. There's a lot of love going around. Remember we covered that story about the Pfizer CEO? He'll wait his turn in line for the vaccine out of love. Oh, so $5, $10, $15, big donors, you mean the world to me. And by the way, when we're talking about the vaccine, there are now two, not just the one you see right there, but two back-to-back exclusives, big videos, hour and a half and then an hour plus, okay, that are free right now, including one with Scott Jensen. Now, all kidding aside, Scott Jensen is an award-winning doctor of 30 plus years. And what's really interesting about Scott Jensen, and we'll mention him a little later, is he started talking about the actual COVID deaths versus ones that he felt were misrepresented. He's also a state senator, and they'll be, oh, that Republican bastard. Just a doctor for, I believe, just under or around 30 years. I'm sure he was checking off everybody's political stances as he treated them. And we're talking award-winning. And he breaks down all these different statistics and what's going on now with this and so much more in today's exclusive over on Rockfin. So if you don't have the free Rockfin account, make the free Rockfin account. The first video is with two separate doctors and then Dr. Scott Jensen. I mean, these ones are very honed in, and I hope you're going to go check them out. Thumbs this video up, subscribe, and share. We did it. We hit 60K. Let's get to 75K, 100K. I don't have any strikes, nor should I have any strikes. We're working on 2,000 videos here. And we do it live most of the time. We tell the truth. We back everything we say up, and we're going to do that today. And I want to make sure people understand that and how important that is. And I think that's one of the reasons I've remained on the air. And all my documentary films do the same thing. Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and especially Shade the Motion Picture. Yeah, Tucker Carlson attacked Loose Change last week and says, basically, it shouldn't be on this platform you're watching. But, watch that in my playlist section while you can. And then Shade the Motion Picture, just so you know that I'm not trying to be a cool guy about Bill Gates. 7 years ago, and even before that, but 7 years ago, he gets like a 20-minute section. Because he loved us so much then. He's part of the good guys club. That's what billionaires do. They get together with other billionaires and they talk about world population, okay, and how to control it. And in cases, reduce that population. They literally call it population control, okay? And then they say they're the good guys club. Guys like Michael Bloomberg, Warren Buffett, George Soros, Rockefeller. Remember Oprah was there? Those guys, they're the good guys. So, just so everybody's clear, Bill Gates says lockdowns, not could. No. He's going for it. He's telling you. And he believes, listen, he says he doesn't say, I believe. He says they will be closed because he loves you. Now, this is the guy. And you know, as we go through this, I want to point out that, you know, he's got his love outfit on. It's gray, it's black. It's the same love outfit that we're going to show you right here. Okay? When he can't get enough. When he tells you something totally and completely contradictory to what he's telling you now. All right? But we won't worry about that because when the facts aren't the facts in New York and Bill Gates has so much love for you, all right, it doesn't really matter. And by the way, right before I did this video and went live, I sent it to my old boss who owns, you know, a string of bars. As you guys know, I used to run a bar. And he just saw the thumbnail and he liked it. He says, yeah, no, this is true. This is going to happen. So yeah, guys, let's get with it. Let's do it because we do it live. And let's start it off with Jake Tapper, who also loves you, by the way, a lot. Tapper's got nothing but love for you. I mean, Tapper could care less about the millions of dollars they pay him to, you know, have well-groomed hair and look into a camera and disparage Donald Trump at every single step of the way, not because Donald Trump doesn't want free speech and let his Department of Justice go after Julian Assange, not for the, attack that never happened in Douma, right, in Syria, not because of that kind of stuff. No. Because, you know, he's a white supremacist and a Nazi. Remember, weren't the Nazis into eugenics? Isn't that like another term for population control? It's so weird. It's odd. But let's get to the love fest.
We're seeing record high cases, deaths, and hospitalizations in the U.S. right.
Record high cases, deaths, and hospitalizations. And Bill Gates is smiling from love. Lots of love.
Now, when those numbers are climbing, how bad do you expect things to get over the next 3 or 4 months before the vaccine is widely available?
Well, sadly, the next 4 to 6 months could be the worst of the epidemic.
Sadly. He was so sad looking earlier. Yeah, no, it could be. You know, forget about all the therapeutics, getting people off of ventilators. Forget about the actual numbers that, you know, now we're waiting on. Because in 15 days, we're going to have the 1-year numbers. Okay? The CDC should be releasing those on January 1st. I doubt we get them January 1st. But then we get to see the overall death rate. And remember, we're going to show you how the World Health Organization has now said, for the first time in history, I believe, the flu has completely disappeared from the southern hemisphere of the world. That's crazy. I mean, that's how much they love you. They got rid of the flu in the southern hemisphere.
The IHME forecast shows over 200,000 additional deaths. If we would follow the rules in terms of wearing masks and not...
See, because of the love. We follow the rules.
mixing, we could avoid a large percentage of those deaths. So in the near term, it's bad news.
You've been sounding the alarm on the threat posed by infectious diseases and pandemics for years. Even in your wildest dreams, did you think it would ever get this?
I mean, did you notice how the smile grew when he started talking about wildest dreams? Oh, don't you worry, Jake. Bill Gates has so much love for you, you haven't seen his wildest dreams yet. Oh, no, I promise you haven't.
It's bad in the United States?
No, I thought the United States would do a better job handling it. Overall, when I did the forecast in 2015, I talked about the deaths potentially being higher. So this virus could be more fatal.
Not only could it be more fatal, once again, very old numbers. And these numbers, by the way, have gotten much, much lower than what we got here. But we want to have authoritative sources. Let's just say 99.4% plus survivable rate by the World Health Organization. Let's play that love clip. And the thing is that, you know, he talks about how we would have handled it better. But if you watch Event 201, you can go to my Twitter page at Jason Burmis. It's pinned there on the first one. They're talking about a projection by the end of it of millions of deaths. Millions upon millions of deaths. Okay? And there was projections of COVID-19 deaths in the millions of the United States as well. So just so everybody knows, this is a representative of the World Health Organization. Global governance, the most loving of loves.
There's different ways that mortality can be calculated. And if we look very crudely, if we look at the number of people that have died over the number of people that have been reported, you get a certain percentage. What many groups are looking at right now is what we're calling the infection fatality ratio, which is looking at the number of deaths among all of the people who have been infected. And right now, we don't know how many people have been infected because there are challenges with surveillance and detecting every single one of the cases. And certainly, there are many unrecognized cases at the moment. What we understand from many of these studies, these are estimates of the IFR, the infection fatality ratio, is that the estimates hover around less than 1% of 0.6%. And there are a couple of studies that are out that have estimated.
0.6%. This is when is this?
Sound like a lot.
This is This is in the beginning of August that they told us this. But now here we are, 4 more months later, and Gates loves us so much. It's got to get lower. Remember, they're bragging about a 90 to 95% efficacy rate, not on whether it'll stop infection or mortality, as we're going to show you later, but whether or not it'll produce these antibodies. That's all. But let's get to the love fest.
Than it is. We didn't get the worst case. But the thing that's surprised me is that the economic impact in the U.S. and around the world has been much greater than the forecast that I made 5 years ago.
Did you say, first of all, they love you so much that this isn't a live piece. It's edited. But did you see how much love Gates had as he was smiling about the economic hardships of you? No, that's love. And Jake Tapper, it seems really concerned about how giddy and love-filled Bill Gates was, talking about the economic destruction all of this has done.
Your foundation just announced a new $250 million pledge to help fight COVID. That's in addition to the more than $1 billion you've already committed. Why did you do this? And specifically, where's the money going to go?
We saw a unique role for us. We've been funding a lot of the research for the vaccines. We're very agile. We're a partner in a thing called CEPI, which is the second biggest funder after the U.S. government. So in diagnostic therapy and vaccines, we know where the science is. We know how the pieces need to come together in an urgent way. And so our expertise in infectious disease, which normally only relates to developing countries, applied to the entire world for this crisis.
These vaccines were created and tested in record time, under a year. According to the data right now.
Look how that's love. Under a year. Look at you think that there's so much love going around that people weren't dying, they weren't losing their homes, they weren't losing their jobs, they weren't being forced to wear masks, they weren't being, made to fear their neighbors. They weren't being, made to divide. There's that much love in his face.
Now they have a very high effectiveness, more than 90%. How much credit?
And again, this is where it gets dicey, because he just says it's a 90 efficacy rate, right? Well, let's hear what Bill Gates has to say about it really quick, because this is where I think that he's off the rails here. Bill, did you forget what you said over the summer?
For the success do you think Operation Warp Speed and President Trump deserve?
Well, that was the first time as I really got concerned. Did you just say President Trump deserves any kind of credit? No. Listen, dude. Don't you get it? This is COVID-19 84. This is COVID-19, the Great Reset, bro. This is what kills me. When I have these conversations with people, I say, can you read big letters? Do you know who Klaus Schwab and Thierry Mauret are? Huh? Are they somebody you elected? Or are they representatives of a predator class that literally have a cover that says COVID-19, the Great Reset? And when you see what Agenda 2030 is, they tell you you will own nothing. You will rent everything. You will not be eating meat. You will be carbon taxed. But don't worry, we're going to make you organs, and you're going to the moon and Mars. We might even find aliens. This is the kind of fairy tale love that they're promoting, but people apparently don't believe it when I say they're literally putting on the covers of books, and these people are more powerful than anyone you will ever meet in your life and have a personal relationship ever. They have no ties to you, your family, or your friends. This is it. The great resistance is you guys. We gotta fight all this love, because there's more love coming. I promise. Just listen to the love fest here.
Well, the mRNA vaccines, which the first two are, our foundation and others have been backing for quite some time. Now, Pfizer teamed up with BioNTech, a partner of ours, and did not take government money, so they, went out on their own. Moderna got money before there was an Operation Warp Speed, back when it was just called BARDA, and that money did help them take a risk because they're not a large company, and they got help on some of their trials work. So
let me just explain what's going on here. He's diverting any kind of accolade to Trump moving the vaccination process along, because later when some of the restrictions go away, because it's going to be rolling lockdowns after they've gutted you enough and tried to get you onto some UBI system and basically pumped up and inflated money so it's worth less as they've consolidated their power, they can say, well, Joe Biden did it. The vaccine, he's the guy. All these lockdowns and 100 days of masks and mandatory vaccines that we're talking about in New York. After all, what's the story again? Oh, maybe we do want Andrew Capo Cuomo, who's full of love, as the Attorney General of the United States. Guys, again, don't bank on anything great happening no matter what after January 20th or 21st. It's up to you. You got to be your own hero. The Great Resistance, take over the local halls of government. There's one town, I believe it's in Washington State, one of the mayors stood up and they're not closed at all. Everything's open. You got to make that decision now, guys, because because again, Bill Gates doesn't say that he believes it's going to happen. He's telling you you're shutting your business down.
The U.S. R&D funding, which had been there for pandemics well before this administration, that was a contribution greater than any other country.
President Trump signed an executive order that he says prioritizes distribution of the vaccine to Americans before it goes to people in other countries. It's not entirely clear how the order will achieve that. But what do you think of that?
I mean, look how happy he is through the whole thing. This guy's just so happy.
Strategy, that approach that everyone in the United States should be vaccinated first, and then the U.S. should pivot, or these private companies should pivot to.
He's literally going like this. I mean, I feel like I'm a teenager again, before cell phones, before social media, and I'm sitting down over in the old Holiday Inn in Johnstown as a movie theater. They had like I think it was only two theaters on both sides. And I'm watching some weird 1990s dystopic future movie where some billionaire I never elected, who's into biotech, controlling the weather, yes, geoengineering, carbon credits, and vaccines, sit there and literally is telling you about his global vaccination plan. I mean, only this is as real as it gets, guys. It's as real as it gets. Where's Bruce Willis when you need him?
Helping the rest of the world.
Well, I think we need to help all of humanity here. We want the world economy to be going. We want to minimize the deaths. And, the basic technology is a German company. And so blocking international sharing and cooperation has been disruptive and a mistake during this entire pandemic. So we need to ramp up the capacity of all the vaccines. There will be some additional ones approved in the months ahead that are easier to scale up the manufacturing. But the U.S. Has benefited from other countries' work here, and we shouldn't be entirely selfish in how we go forward.
Yeah, because again, they're so concerned with the guys. They're so concerned that poor people aren't going to take the vaccine. Okay, first of all, they got social media campaigns going for it. They're going to pay influencers. We've already covered that. They're going door to door in Santa Clara County because it's over 50% Latino for virus testing. They're targeting minorities and poor people who have less resources than others. Why? Because they love them. Because there's nothing but love here. Do you get it? And again, if you tuned in late, if you want to learn about what's going on, not only with the vaccines in particular, that's the 12, 14, 20, but then you want to learn about, the mortality rates, how they're counting these deaths. These are from doctors. Jason Burmis isn't a doctor. Make the free Rockfin account. Check that out after, because it turns out Bill Gates isn't a doctor either.
So, in your view, America first, as the president might call it, not the right approach?
Well, the extreme idea that everybody should die until we have the very last American vaccinated, that's...
Everybody should die? We just played the World Health Organization telling you in, again, August, it was at least a 99.4% survival rate. And again, there are authorized treatments like remdesivir and dextromethasone, and then there are unauthorized treatments. And we're going to talk about not only, HCQ and zinc, right? The Lancet had to retract their study that they had out there that was decrying it because they didn't even use the zinc. But that's an unauthoritative thing they're using. Different types of steroids like ivermectin and budesonide, also non-authoritative. Vitamin C, vitamin D with that. All those things. And you know what? We should talk about that miraculously the flu is completely gone from the Southern Hemisphere. I mean, virtually gone. And I'm not saying it. Our lords of global governance are saying it, okay?
And maybe it's due to these measures that in the Southern Hemisphere, during their influenza season, actually, they saw a very limited flu transmission. It was unexpected and very surprising, but literally there was nearly no flu this year in the Southern Hemisphere. So
on the Southern Hemisphere of the planet, there was literally no flu for the first time ever. But I guess all these measures work against the flu, just not COVID 1984. So then why are we doing them? We got to do them harder, right? But again, if you want to understand that, that's something that is kind of discussed with Scott Jensen, which I think is important. But let's get back to the Tapper Gates Love Fest.
Hardly the appropriate response.
Do you think one of these vaccines is better than the other?
No. The data on Moderna and Pfizer look very similar. Other vaccines are likely to be about the same. Even the AstraZeneca, where there's a little bit of confusion about the numbers, it prevented severe disease in a very dramatic way. And so I'm super happy with all of these vaccines.
A new Pew Research poll out last week showed that only 60% of the American people say they intend to get vaccinated. That includes less than half of Black Americans. How worried are you about the reluctance of Americans to take a vaccine, particularly among minority communities?
Oh, particularly. Listen, we got so much love for the minority communities. They're going to get it first. They're first in line. We're knocking on doors in Santa Clara. Don't you get it? I mean, we're going to hit the healthcare out of love. We're gonna have some spots. Don't worry, the CEO of Pfizer, he's gonna wait a little bit. Bill Gates told you he's gonna wait a little bit on to take it. But don't worry, they're gonna take it publicly too. Okay. Let's see about this. Maybe we'll need re-education camps. I mean, no, not re-education camps. Maybe re-education TikToks or re-education Facebook posts or re-education influencers, right? Right, Billy?
I think we have a real communications challenge that you've got to find out who do people trust, make sure they've got the data. I hope as people see it being rolling, this fact.
I love that. Find out who people trust. Well, where's the interest in the truth? There's too much love for the truth, right, Bill? Just who do you trust?
Vaccine rolled out and reducing the death rate, reducing transmission to people you care about, that 60% number will go up. For some jobs, like working in a nursing home, the government could decide that it's important for those people to be vaccinated.
It's important. Notice how he doesn't use the word mandatory, because mandatory doesn't have, as much love in it as it's important that they're vaccinated too. So they're targeting you through medical martial law of something they're telling you has a 99.4% survival rate or higher months ago, with only certain treatments that doctors say work being authoritative. And if you say anything outside of that they are authoritative, you get taken off of the other platforms by billionaires.
Because that'll save a lot of lives. And so
will it? It's going to save a lot of lives. Is that true? Because again, the efficacy rates don't really talk about that, do they, Bill? Let's play this clip right here. Because just, a few months ago in July, Bill, you said, we don't know if these are going to lower infection rates or mortality rates. Okay? We don't know that because that still hasn't been tested.
I want to turn now to the race for a cure.
Oh, come on. Oh, you know what, PayPal? You'll get none of it. You'll get none of my anything there. However, my PayPal's jasonisvoid@yahoo.com. I appreciate everybody that hits that up. I really, really do. So let's see. Is it done yet? Nope. Still trying to hit. Psst. And another commercial. Yo, they have now unskippable 2-minute, 3-minute commercials on YouTube. Not on my content, but it might end up coming on my content because they can just now monetize your content while they don't pay you. Right, Bill? Because remember, Bill Gates is trying to lower the mortality rate. People could die, except for when you actually watch what he says in the clip. I mean, that's what's incredible. And we got to wait because there's a whole bunch of stuff coming up here on the YouTube. Come on, give me a break. All right, here we go.
A lot of promising news this week on the vaccine front. What do you make of the results from AstraZeneca and Moderna?
Well, it's very hard to characterize complex scientific things in a sort of simple to understand format.
He's really loving there too. And notice he's in the same he's in the same exact outfit. I mean, there's no difference in the outfit he's wearing there that he's here. Come on.
We don't know if these vaccines will work. We don't know if they'll work to avoid deaths. We don't know if they'll work to avoid transmission.
They're just producing the antibodies. So again, clarify it for me, Bill. Clarify it for me.
Track record will be developed, and I think we'll get over the 70% that should reduce the transmission dramatically.
President-elect Biden joined with former Presidents Obama and Bush and Clinton, suggesting that they would all take the vaccine publicly.
Look, he's very happy about that, huh? Oh, yeah. I mean, look at the smile. That's some love, huh?
Are you considering doing the same?
No, I'll do the same. When it's my turn, I'm not going to budge. But when my turn comes up, I will visibly take the vaccine because I I think that it's a benefit to all people to not be transmitting.
Are you at all concerned about the wealthy and well-connected being able to get access to a vaccine before it's their turn, before most other Americans?
You know, it should be based on medical need, not wealth at all. After all, this epidemic has been awful in the way that it's exacerbated inequities. It's been worse for Hispanics, worse for blacks, worse for low-income service workers.
You know, that doesn't have anything to do with the fact that they have less resources to decide how they get treated medically. You know what's so weird about this? Does he still know billionaires, even like the really rich old ones that should be susceptible? None of them died from this. Not one billionaire died. It's just so odd. It's just so odd. And by the way, they're now telling you that, not only is Fauci telling you that you're going to need to wear masks after the vaccines, but now it's on the New York Times. Because they could now, after taking the vaccine, shed the virus. It says it right on the package. And then be super spreaders themselves.
Multi-generational households, a number of things that mean that in terms of picking who gets the vaccine, we better be using equity to drive all those decisions.
More than 30 million people in California are right now under brand new stay-at-home orders as hospitals there risk being overwhelmed. There are a lot of governors
Lots of risks.
Who oppose bringing back these lockdown orders and forcing businesses to close. What do you think? Do you think more states need to consider taking that kind of drastic action and the kind of drastic action we saw when the pandemic first began, or can there be a more nuanced approach?
Well, certainly mask wearing has essentially no downside. They're not expensive. Bars and restaurants in most of the country will be closed as we go into this wave. And
Bars and restaurants in most of the country will be closed as we go into this wave. Wow. And now, wait, lockdowns through 2022?
that's why we're working on.
Oh, sorry. Hit the wrong one. There's just so much Gates going on.
I think, sadly, that's appropriate. Depending on how severe it is, the decision about schools is much more complicated because the benefits are pretty high. The amount of transmission is not the same as in restaurants and bars. So, trade-offs will have to be made. But the next 4 to 6 months really call on us to do our best.
I'd call on us like it's hurting Bill Gates because all the love he has, or hurting billionaires. No, they're making a ton of money. And by the way, again, this is just a short clip. It doesn't even really do it justice. Basically, they talk about how this is one of the WHO officials talking about how lockdowns are detrimental.
But we had Professor Sunetra Gupta from Oxford University on, and she was implying, and I'm interested in you because you have a global mandate, a global view, was that a problem we don't think about in lockdowns is that they're very nationalistic. That if we lock down our economy, then it hits our economy. But it also means we are not buying stuff. We're not trading with weaker economies. We are not just destroying our own jobs, we're destroying the jobs of all those that in the poorer parts of the world that export to us. That seemed to me to be a reasonable point.
Really important point by Professor Gupta. I want to say it again. We in the World Health Organization do not advocate lockdowns as a primary means of control of this virus. The only time we believe a lockdown is justified is to buy you time to reorganize, regroup, rebalance your resources, protect your health workers who are exhausted. But by and large, we'd rather not do it. Just look at what's happened to the tourism industry, for example, in the Caribbean or in the Pacific, because people aren't taking their holidays. Look what's happened to smallholder farmers all over the world because their markets have got dented. Look what's happening to poverty levels. It seems that we may well have a doubling of world poverty by next year. We may well have at least a doubling of child malnutrition because children are not getting meals at school and their parents in poor families are not able to afford it. This is a terrible, ghastly global catastrophe, actually. And so we really do appeal to all world leaders. Stop using lockdown as your primary control method. Develop better systems for doing it.
Listen, he also says later, a doubling of malnutrition. So a doubling of global poverty and a doubling of malnutrition in children. But you don't see that in the headlines anywhere. That was like, shh, that's not what we really mean. No. Let's go with the Gates version of lockdowns through 2022. Okay?
Because we can see that this will end, and you don't want, somebody you love to be the last to die of coronavirus.
When do you think life will fully return to what we thought of as normal back in
He's just so happy. He looks off to the side, smiling with all that love.
January? No masks, no social distancing, no other protective measures necessary.
Certainly by the summer, we'll be way closer to normal than we are now. But even through early 2022, unless we help other countries get rid of this disease and we get high vaccination rates in our country, the risk of reintroduction will be there. And of course, the global economy will be slowed down, which hurts America economically.
Oh, really? Guys, again, we're not into early 2021 yet. And he's talking about early 2022. He's talking about restrictions on jobs by governments. He's smiling about bars and restaurants being closed for 4 to 6 months. That's love. That is love. Guys, thumbs this video up, subscribe, and share. And remember, they love you so much, they're thinking about, why not get a COVID smart ring, huh? It'll have your temperature, it'll detect the symptoms. Awesome. We need more track trace database. We need more of all of it because they love us so much. Guys, $5, $10, $15, it means the world to me. It's how we do it. We're halfway through the month. I wish we were a little bit higher. I'd love to get up into that 2,000 range in the next couple of days. Big donors, thank you so much. Remember, go make the free account over at Rokfin. This one went live a little early, but 11 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, we put up free videos. There are 2 free videos up there right now. Usually we put them behind premium access for those that spend $9.99 a month. If you support me on Rokfin, you get everybody else's content. It's like a Netflix for creators. The Ray token, exploding right now. I think it hit 134 or 137. Highest ever today. And that's because they're pushing cryptocurrency. They're pushing, digital money. And they know the dollar is printing, and printing and printing and printing and printing and printing right now. Inflation is going to be a real thing. These people are consolidating power. Again, COVID-19 84 is the Great Reset. Read their books. Just watch what they say in public. Thumbs the video up, subscribe, and share. Notice we back everything we set up here. I didn't just go off on some rants and say they're doing this and they and this. I'm showing you the actual officials talking about it. Give me a break. And that's why my documentary films are all here for free and backed up. Loose Change Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture. I love you guys. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you all on the flip side.